Hello there, welcome to the first in this new series of top 5 products. Today we're going to be talking about foundation, and this is long overdue, but it's a good thing. It took me a while to get around to filming this because in the last couple of months, another one of my top favorites has been reformulated and changed, and it's no longer in my top 5. So today, as I was pulling together all of my favorite foundations for you, I did put together a demo of me applying each and every one. I'll show you my favorite brush or sponge to apply, and I'm only going to show you application on the lower portion of one half of my face. That was the easiest way I could figure out to at least show you what these look like, and then to also show you my favorite powder with each one, because I feel like setting powder also does play into how a foundation looks and wears throughout the day. So if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get started. Now, as we jump into these top 5, you may have noticed that I referred to these as coverage foundations. And that is because I feel like everyone can use a good coverage foundation in their collection. It doesn't mean you have to wear this every day, but as we're heading into summer, and I know many of us, myself included, will be going to weddings or outdoor events, there are just times when you need some fuller coverage and you need it to last well. So as I selected these 5 foundations, there are a couple of qualities that I wanted to make sure each one of them had. Number 1, they do not emphasize fine lines, wrinkles, or enlarged pores. I have enlarged pores, especially in this part of my face. You can't tell it too much right now, and that's because of the foundation and the powder that I'm wearing, but that is something I look for in a foundation. I don't want anything that is going to emphasize texture on the face. Number 2, a big qualifier for every one of these is that they will perform well all on their own without any helpers. What helpers? That means no primer, no setting spray required in order to look great and stay throughout the day. Now, all of these do work well with a number of different primers or setting sprays, but I personally don't like to add those layers every day and unless absolutely necessary. So none of these 5 require anything other than a properly prepared skin. And for me, that means a light-based moisturizer and sunscreen. All of these work well with sunscreen. There's only one that I feel like the longevity performs better with more of a matte sunscreen than my regular sunscreen. I'll let you know which one that one is. Lastly, my skin type is combination, veering on oily, especially in the T-zone and especially in the hot summer. So those are just a couple of things that play into my selection of these products. Now, I do have friends with dry skin types who live in a dry climate that actually love all of these as well. So if you're a dry skin girl, don't be scared off by the fact that I'm more combo oily. Okay, let's jump into the first one. The Dalton Skin Genius Serum Skin Tint with Reishi Mushroom. Ever since I tested this to put into my Dalton little pink box, I fell in love with this. The texture is a light mousse-like texture, but you will see as I am applying it with my favorite brush for this foundation is the BK Beauty 113 brush. As I'm applying it, you will see it gives incredible coverage, yet it feels super lightweight on the skin. All of Dalton products are made with great clean ingredients. They're cruelty-free. And so it's doing great things for the skin, but it's performing so well. So as I've gotten that all blended out, you can see it's evened out my skin tone as compared with my other side of my face. And I should note here, I do point it out later, but I have sunless tanner on my body, but I don't have it on my face. So as I am matching my foundation, I am not trying to match what my face color is. I'm trying to match it better to my neck. So just a note, as you see me apply each one, you're going to be going, oh, whoa, that's way too dark. But check how it matches with my neck. So back to the Dalton Skin Genius foundation. This not only applies like a dream and sits so well on the skin, and I feel like this one is one that is so versatile of multiple skin types, but it also wears well through the day. Now, this is the one foundation that I get better wear time with the Matte Screen by Supergoop. If I use that in conjunction with this, I easily get 8 to 10 hours of wear. And of course, though, I do set it with powder. My favorite powder is the Honest Beauty Invisible Blur Loose Powder. This is my favorite powder with this foundation and a few others, as you will see. So I've set that in place. You can see the coverage. You can see how smooth the skin looks. And again, the skin feels super light. This is a very airy foundation, does not feel heavy, but I think it looks amazing on the skin. The next foundation is a combination of two drugstore foundations. Individually, I did not love either one of these, but then one day, because I needed to shift the shade of one, I paired them together and a match made in heaven was formed. So these are the two L'Oreal foundations. This is the True Match, and then this is the Infallible Fresh Wear, 24-hour fresh wear. They did come out with a 32-hour one, but this is the 24-hour one. Now, I know combining two doesn't make these as affordable as if you're just wearing one, but combined together, you get the thin spreadability of the True Match, and then you get the longevity of wear of the Infallible Fresh Wear. However, this by itself just seemed to emphasize too much texture on my skin. So I felt like this lightened it up enough to where, as you see me applying it, you can see it glides more smoothly over the skin. The True Match has maybe a little more hydration in it, but combined together, they provide amazing coverage. And again, I am using that same BK Beauty brush, the 113. This is my favorite because just like the Dalton foundation, you do not want to get too much of this foundation on, otherwise it can look a little bit cakey. But by spreading it out with that brush and working it into the skin, you can see it provides great coverage. This feels, again, super lightweight on the skin. And both of these foundations come in a huge variety of shades. And that is another reason why I love this, because I struggle with my warmer yellow undertone skin to find drugstore foundations that actually will work for me. I love the Revlon Illuminance foundation, but all of the colors are just a little too pink. So I have to do a lot of mixology to make those work for me. L'Oreal, though, I feel like they have a broad range of shades and undertones, and that works great. Now, the combination of these two, I love. My favorite powder with those is also from the drugstore, and it is the NYX Mineral Matte Finishing Powder. Love this powder, but especially paired with these foundations. You can see as I'm powdering, the skin goes from covered to then flawless. The pores disappear, and the combination of these products together, I can get this foundation to last for 10 to 12 hours throughout the day. Fabulous. And even though you do have to buy two foundations, keep in mind you'll have 2 ounces of product. Both of these obviously with a pump as well. I didn't mention that on the Doll Skin foundation, but this also comes with a pump. All of the foundations I selected have a pump, so that also is another bonus. But you are getting 2 ounces of foundation for the combined price, so it's gonna last you twice as long. But again, fabulous and one of my top favorites. All right, this next foundation I had almost forgotten about until I was searching and searching to see if I could come up with a 5th favorite. And when I saw this, I thought, oh yes, I forgot how much I love that. It is the Smashbox Always On Skin Balancing Foundation. I discovered this at the end of last summer, and then I actually chose this to take with me on vacation last fall when I went to New York and on a cruise. And basically, not only because of the coverage level, but because this is skin balancing. So it has hyaluronic acid in it, which helps keep moisture in your skin, but it's balancing. So it helps you also not get too oily. And when I'm traveling, I always struggle with the change in climate from where I lived, where I'm going. And I mean, we went from rainy New York to cruise and just different climates. And I felt like this performed well for me. Now, as I am applying this, I do love to apply this foundation with the BK Beauty 101 brush. And I've also, though, learned that sometimes as I've applied it, you can see it is full coverage. If I feel like it's looking just slightly too heavy, then I'll go over it with a damp beauty sponge, and that can lighten the coverage. Now, that is my tip for all of these foundations. You can always go in with a damp beauty sponge and you will get a lighter coverage. So you don't have to apply a full coverage foundation in full coverage format every time. So that's why I feel like a full coverage foundation or medium to full coverage foundation is a very versatile product. Now, as far as the Smashbox Always On foundation, my favorite powder, I have a couple, but I really do seem to go back to the Honest Beauty Invisible Blurring Powder. I think that looks beautiful with it. I've also used the Makeup Forever HD finishing powder. This also looks lovely. But I finished powdering and you can see full on coverage. I think this one is one of the fullest coverages of the ones that I'm sharing. Again, a very nice wide range of colors, and I will list all of my colors, my shades in the description box down below. Now let's move into my top two, and these are definitely my top two of the ones that I've been sharing. The one that I will save to the end is actually the one I'm wearing, and it is one that I hadn't used in a while, pulled it out, and I remembered why I love it so much. So let's go to one that you have seen routinely now in so many videos. It is the Dior Forever Matte Foundation. Several of you have been asking, Sharalee, what is your replacement since they reformulated the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Liquid Foundation? And this is my top recommendation. If you loved Bare Pro, the original foundation formula, this I would encourage you to try. This is so lightweight, great coverage, really great staying power. And again, I like to emphasize I'm wearing all of these without primer. Now, what I love about this foundation, it says it's matte, but it really is more of a natural finish on the skin. So as I have applied this with the BK Beauty 101 brush, or you see I do switch to the Stands Out sponge. I do also love this sponge, particularly because you can use it dry. Now here I have, it's slightly damp because I washed it, and you can see it gives me a nice kind of more medium coverage. I could build it up more, but I wanted to show you a little lighter application of this, but it covers so well. Again, it does not emphasize texture, feels lightweight on the skin, and this stays in place all day long. And this is one that I have heard, my best friend started using this and she's like, why did it take me so long to try this foundation? It is one of the best, I think, in coverage, in staying power. And again, it doesn't look flat matte on the face, but you can make it more matte like I love to do with a setting powder. My main go-to, but I've rotated all of my setting powders and they all work with this foundation. But I tend to go to either the Honest Beauty one or the NYX Mineral Matte. And I'm applying the NYX Mineral Matte with this today just to show you what that looks like. Again, the skin is well covered. The pores look invisible. And I know that this foundation is one that will stay for me beyond 12 hours. I may have to blot or powder through the center of my face, but I can get this foundation to stay 12 to 16 hours. Yes, there are days when I need it to last that long. So another one of my favorites, and definitely in the top two. Now the last foundation, which is the one that I am wearing today, is one that I had in my collection, but I had put it away for winter because I really didn't have a good match for my wintertime skin, but found it a couple weeks ago and just fell in love with it yet again. And it is the Clinique Even Better Clinical Serum Foundation. Now it took me a while to try this foundation because I was scared off as an oily skin girl by the term serum foundation. I thought it was going to be super hydrating and glowy, and yet it is not. As I apply this, again, I prefer this one with the BK Beauty 101 brush. That's my favorite, but you could definitely use a damp beauty sponge to lighten the coverage. But this is pretty darn near full coverage without even having to add a second layer. And that's one thing I love about this, because as we get older, less layers is better, right? So the less we have to actually pile on to get the coverage we want, the better it's going to look throughout the day. And I have worn this recently for some very long days. And at the end of the day, I go, wait, what foundation did I? Oh yeah, I put on the Clinique. This is a very long wearing foundation. I feel like maybe the Dior lasts a little longer, but this one is pretty close. 12 plus hours for sure. Now, since I was going to apply this all over my face, I went ahead, finished up the rest of my makeup. And now as I am setting my face, I went in with the Honest Beauty Invisible Blurring Powder. And you can see it just further blurs everything on the face. And I think my skin just looks like it's perfect, even though it's not. And as I smile, as I do expression lines, I mean, it's not like it's getting crackly. And throughout the day, even as I do have a little bit of, my skin oils mixed with it, I feel like it just continues to look more and more beautiful. I will get a little bit of glow coming through. And again, set the T-zone. If it's going to be an extra long day, I may reset the T-zone. But overall, super long wearing, great coverage. It does have a pump. The only caveat with this foundation is the shade range. I struggle with Clinique foundations in trying to find the right shade for my skin. I feel like if you are neutral or a cool tone person, you have an easier time. But for me, with more of yellow undertones, sometimes I feel like they verge a little too peach or a little too orangey. So this is one foundation I would definitely recommend that you maybe go into the store, get color matched, and then even still make sure it's a store that you can maybe exchange for a different shade if you need to. Now, speaking of shade matching, I will leave in the description box down below a very in-depth video I did all about foundation, and included in that is how to figure out your skin's undertone, how to match your foundation. But in general, what I feel like the rule of thumb for us with short hair, it is important that you don't go too dark on your face. I actually recommend going just slightly lighter. If you are between two shades, go slightly lighter, especially if you're someone like me who likes to apply some bronzer or contour. Because if you go slightly darker on your foundation, then you add bronzer and contour, it is only going to further enhance the fact that your face is a very different color than your neck. Second tip I want to give you here is if you sunless tan, or maybe your skin just gets a little extra sun through the summertime, I would recommend once you find your favorite foundation, buy it in two shades, your winter shade, your lightest skin shade, and your darkest skin shade. And then you will always have your perfect shade match in your foundation because you can mix the combination of the two. That is what I have done in all of these foundations. A few like the Dior, I actually have 3 shades. Because my sunless tanning routine, I'm always changing out and trying new ones, and that can give me a different tone of tan. Yes, it is a thing. So keep that in mind as you're selecting your shades. But as always, I will list and link all of these foundations, the setting powders, and my favorite brushes down below. Some of you are confused of how to find all that information. You want to click below the video where it says more. It's going to be over on this side. And then you got to look down a few lines and you'll see where it says more again. Click that, and then that will drop down the entire list with links and everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the next in this series, which will be coming out soon, and I'll see you next time. Bye.